Hi, hello, this is Kaz Risk, and you're listening to the first episode of Koppai Podcast. I am joined today with my brother, Zak Risk.
Hello.
And, we're just going to go right into it. We don't really have any set format yet, but we'll kind of figure it out as we go. This is an all Nintendo podcast. We're going to be posting weekly is the plan now. And so, without further ado, let's just get right into a little bit of the news with Super Mario Maker. Now, Zach, you found this thing online that says apparently even if you buy the digital format of Super Mario Maker, you still can get the physical booklet with it that comes with, I believe, what was it, kind of like behind the scenes, how they originally made the Mario levels, and then some, I think it had also like some thoughts and templates for what you could do to recreate Mario World 1-1 and all of that. And so
yeah, I think it's that really cool booklet that we saw at E3 when they had they were showing off the different levels and you can enter in the code and play that or go through that test level or something. It's just a little bit, I think it's just a little section. I don't think it's a fully fledged level. I'm not sure exactly on that. But usually they just do these booklets digitally, and you can still get it digitally. Like when you click, I think, the home menu, you can enter in the manual. But if you call up Nintendo, you need to give them the serial number of your Wii U. But you can also find the receipt, you can also find the serial number on your receipt and your email, name, and address, and they will send you a physical copy of the book. So you can just do that by, if you preload Mario Maker on your Wii U, or buy it digitally, maybe off of GameStop or something like that, then you can still get that physical collector's edition book if you...
Which is cool, because someone like me, I'm always the kind of person that, like, I don't want to buy digital games because I like having something physical to represent my collection of some sort.
You're right.
And so it'll be nice that we get, like, the people that get the digital version have that option to at least get that. I think, do you only get the booklet if you pre-order, though? Or do you get the booklet regardless of whether or not you buy the game? It seemed like...
I think it's a pre-order bonus, maybe. Or I'm not sure, actually. I think it's what you get with the game, purchasing it physically.
Because it looked like the game, when I saw, like, I looked at it on Amazon and stuff, it looked like the game kind of came in a yellow box sort of thing.
Really?
And had, like, maybe the booklet, like, in a sleeve with it or something. Kind of like...
Mario Party 10 or something?
Yeah, kind of like...
in a box?
Or how Kid Icarus came in a much bigger box with the 3DS stand in there.
Box. I wonder if that will be a permanent thing, or if they're just going to come out with a, like, limited line of...
Yeah,
with the book,
eventually they'll probably maybe have to get rid of that just because they'll stop producing those, but...
That was one of my concerns about... If you call them, how many books did they make? You know, it's a concern with them if they made enough quantity. So I was hoping that, I don't know, if you did pre-order, you might want to just call them as soon as possible just to make sure that you get one of those, because who knows, they could be gone someday. They could be like, this offer is no longer available, so I would just jump on that. Yeah,
with all the amiibo shortage and just every other kind of shortage. I mean,
I still need to.
I think this is would be a much easier thing to produce for them, like just a booklet full of information, all that. Like, it's they probably don't have to go through as much detail or like a manufacturing sort of like hassle to make a booklet full of information compared to an amiibo that looks like this and has this data in there and stuff. Like, there's much more I guess details involved with all that, while a book is just a book.
Right, you can just mass print. Yeah.
And so,
a lot easier.
So that'd be nice. That's probably, honestly, they may have actually produced a lot, and they're kind of starting to think, oh no, we may have too many of these. We don't want to throw them out, so we'll give that as up. Yeah, just call us up and we'll give you one. Speaking of that, though, there's also a little bit more Mario Maker news. If you live in the UK, the retailer Game tweeted that if you pre-order Super Mario Maker with them, you get a free pin badge set. Pins showing off to a few different unique combinations you can do with the NES style, and there's a nice little case for them. And so I actually didn't see that. What do the pins look like? Or
the pins, it's basically like Mario in a Koopa cart and Goombas stacked on top of each other, and what was it? One other one was like maybe like a bullet bill with something on its head. It was just like a couple of different combination examples of
monstrosities that are found in the game.
Right.
Which I'm personally not a fan of. I think people are gonna like have some really cool things and create some awesome monsters. Like even during the Nintendo World Championships, where they had that person go in the room and there's 3 Bowsers stacked on top. I'm like, no, Bowser isn't supposed to be. There's one Bowser and they don't stand on each other. Like, that kind of stuff perturbs me. But at the same time, I know some people are just super psyched to go in there and stack Goombas like so high.
I know.
Just something about, I think, the visual of it. Like, they had like a bullet bill on top of a blooper, and it just looked, there's like a gap in between. I wish they kind of like blended or something. But
yeah, some of them they do better than others.
Yeah.
But
and I just want my levels to look aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, I know we're going to talk about Splatoon in a bit, but speaking of Mario Maker, we haven't been doing Koppai Podcast for about a year now.
Right.
And so it'd be nice to talk briefly. We're only about 5 minutes deep into the podcast. I was going to say, just like, what are your... I mean, I think both of our initial impressions of Super Mario Maker, or I guess what was initially Mario Maker, have changed. I know there's some other podcasts that really have come around and been very shocked with Nintendo World Championships and just some other demos that have been shown, just how extensive this game is. I mean, even now, we just got about this week that 7-minute preview that says you can do sound effects and different parties and stuff,
right.
and lighting effects. I know we both are kind of starting to get that Mario Maker fever, and with IGN doing that series of custom battles and stuff with each other, like designing stages and stuff. I mean, it'd be nice to maybe talk briefly about the Mario Maker madness. Is there anything you have to say about that, or I can go on a little bit too?
Yeah, I've always been excited since we first saw that little preview at E3 a couple years ago, and it seems like it's just gotten better and better. They've added more and more to it, and I'm really excited. It seems like there could be a few more tools in it, actually, but really it seems like with the tools available, I can come up with so many different things, and it's going to be basically limitless Mario games forever. We're never going to have a drought in Mario games ever again, so I'm really excited about it. I kind of agree with you about the stacking things and not really liking that too much. I think that to a degree, like keeping it simple, doing a few things, experiments with that, but trying to make sure it always, like, I'm going to try to take a Miyamoto kind of approach with it, I think, where I try to think of the gameplay first.
Yeah, definitely.
How it's challenging it, and maybe try to do as many puzzle elements that I can in it, instead of just bombarding with enemies to get over and defeat. But I'm really excited to give it a shot and experiment and try different things, because it's like Mario Paint we used to play all the time.
Yeah.
And you could just
it's so cool
do so much with that game. And
what's so cool, like bringing up like Mario Paint and stuff, like it's so interesting that Mario Paint needed that kind of mouse,
right,
and mouse pad and stuff.
Yeah. But
now we have the gamepad to kind of work with that, and I mean, you almost wonder if, because who is it, Tezuki? Who, I forget the name of the guy that's designing the game and who worked on the original Mario's with Miyamoto.
Right.
But he seems to just be so enamored with the gamepad. And it's almost interesting that, or it's very interesting that they're not using him more for like other gamepad projects like that. Now that he's put a lot of work into Mario Maker, they don't kind of hand that off to get the finer details done and be like, you can do this with the gamepad, well, what else can you do? And I'm surprised there hasn't been like a Super Mario Maker and then a Mario Paint Wii U version and all of that. And I guess they do have like the Art Academy games.
Yeah,
and
that's
all
what I was going to say. The Art Academy games are very Mario Paint-like.
But Mario Maker is very quickly becoming that game where it's like, oh, this is what the gamepad's for. Because we've been looking for, what is it, 5 years now almost, where it's like, what is the gamepad kind of for? I mean, it's really nice for like the Zelda inventory, and when Zelda U comes out.
Everybody for the longest time was Wind Waker. It's nice for the map down
and
there.
And it really is. Like, I played all of Wind Waker HD, and it was just like, when a lot of people kind of skipped over Wind Waker HD because they'd already played Wind Waker, or they're just not too fascinated by it because they didn't like it the first time around and just never really had an interest. But I was someone that played that all the way through and was just like, guys, this is what the gamepad's for. I mean, it doesn't need to be gimmicky, it doesn't need to be crazy and all that. Like, it's just the convenience of having the map. Like, I played Far Cry 4 and always had to pause and go to the map, and just so many other games like on my PlayStation 4, and it's just like, it is kind of inconvenient at times to like pause and go to the inventory and the map and stuff. But with Wind Waker HD, and even I've been going through Majora's Mask and having the bottom screen to just quickly switch masks for that game. Like, there's so many items, and like you go to a dungeon, there's just so many puzzles and stuff. Like, for the longest time, like that was what the gamepad was really for. But this even more so. It's just like quickly drawing a level and moving this and drawing that. Like, it just I've been looking at a lot of videos this past week of people kind of getting their hands on their review copies, or especially at Gamescom, people were able to play that for just like 6 minutes usually at a time, I think is like what a lot of people are able to post, or at least that's what the embargo allows for. And so I know I watched Game Explain play, and like they just messed around with it a lot, just to quickly see how much they could do in a level in 6 minutes. And it was crazy how in 6 minutes they had like almost a level made. Like it just felt so like intuitive, and like you could just tell, like even like without playing it, you just know it probably does feel right. Mm-hmm. And with the IGN challenge going on, that one guy, I believe his name was Zak, because his level was like the road to Z Town or something, or the train to Z Town or whatever. He went in there and they gave him the gamepad. He had never played Mario Maker before, and they're like, here, you have to make a level for Sam Claiborne, go. And he made it within an hour, and it was seemed like a level that you would find in a Mario game. Like he had pipes with these piranha plants, and you had to like go through a clown car to get through them and stuff, and it just all flowed and had a rhythm to it. And then he was able to change a few things to make it even harder, and he had multiple routes. Like it just all worked, and he had never played it before. And so it's nice that a game has come along that really uses that gamepad. And hopefully, I mean, it seems like they're nearing the end, but part of me also believes that the NX will involve the gamepad in some way as an optional device of some sort, maybe an extra peripheral or something.
Right.
With how much they've expressed that the NX will coexist with the Wii U and 3DS, and so I'm wondering if that second screen experience is really going to carry over to that. So hopefully this isn't the end of that, and if whoever is working on Mario Maker, hopefully they get another opportunity to keep working on really specific gamepad experiences, because that's working quite well. And I think it's definitely shocked a lot of people how far it's come, and I'm excited, especially with all that amiibo support. Just another reason to use the amiibos. Although I am kind of bitter, it seems like you can unlock them even without owning the amiibo, or that's the news I've been hearing, or the rumors and stuff. And so also, briefly before we move on to Splatoon, I just saw it before we started recording. Apparently there's like a little Tingle sprite from Legend of Zelda that you can play as in Super Mario Maker, which
interesting.
He doesn't have an amiibo, but I'm excited to see now that people are getting review copies, there's going to be more and more information leaked about that.
I'm almost wondering if the amiibos are unlocked kind of like we've already heard about this 9-day wait to unlock the tools. And I'm wondering if there's because we've seen almost like a calendar looking thing, I'm wondering if a certain day you unlock like Link amiibo, and you have to wait to unlock certain amiibo, and if you want to unlock them right away, you can just tap your amiibo, and otherwise you have to wait a year to get to, because there's so many amiibo now.
There's 50, I think, that it supports over 70 amiibo,
right,
is what it said. And there's 100 different sprites at least that have been confirmed, and so, or somewhere around there, I thought. But one more thing before I move on, though, I was also going to ask, because it doesn't seem like we're getting a 3D Mario this Wii U cycle.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like there's definitely not going to be a new Super Mario Brothers U 2. And it doesn't seem like we're going to be getting Galaxy 3 or Sunshine 2 or Super Mario 3D World 2.
Nope.
Do you think Super Mario Maker will kind of get more support in the Wii U line? Like, do you think there's going to be any DLC? Because this seems to be shaping up to be even more so than Super Mario 3D World. It seems to be like this, when we look back on the Nintendo consoles, so like Super Mario Brothers and Super Mario Brothers 3 were kind of the two big Marios for the NES, and Super Mario World was SNES, and N64, or Super Mario 64 for the N64, Sunshine, Galaxy 1 and 2, and then this is even more so than 3D World, becoming like the Wii U's Mario. Do you think, we're going to get with like Nintendo's DLC patterns lately, where you think we're going to be getting support beyond that? I mean, because you talk about the calendar thing. I mean, I wonder if they're going to have, now you can add slopes, or now you can add the Koopalings or something as an extra thing, or something like that.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I think they definitely will. I'd be really surprised if they didn't, with Mario Kart DLC and Smash DLC, to suddenly have a game that doesn't have DLC come out. I mean, they had Mario Golf had DLC, New Super Mario Bros. 2 had DLC.
And substantial DLC with New Super Mario Bros.
New Super Mario Bros. U had
the whole
DLC,
Luigi thing, which was a standalone.
Well, didn't it have DLC just on its own too, and then Luigi U is also additional DLC? And did that have DLC?
I don't think Luigi U ever had DLC, because I know Luigi U is the big DLC for that. It may have had some extra challenge modes, but I mean, Luigi U alone would be enough to be DLC for that game.
Splatoon's just had this DLC rollout, so I'm just thinking, I wouldn't be surprised if they add add Yoshi coins, add
some sort of collectible like that, or even just more
new bosses.
Yeah, new bosses, new sprites, new endings and stuff. Because right now it seems like all it is the flagpole, the axe, or the kind of what is it like you like run through like the little line at the end or something, like the Super Mario World ending.
Right.
We have to like jump through the banner and stuff. Like it doesn't seem like there's any sort of other ending and stuff. So maybe they'll add different kinds of endings, different starts, or even just skins. Like,
yeah,
I know there's like really all there is underground stuff. But I mean, I wonder if they'll add in kind of a snowy level, icy levels, and all that.
I wouldn't be surprised if they. I mean, it seems so easy for them to add like just little things, like you were saying, the slope, or just like what's an example of just some really cheap DLC thing that they could add that just hardly, like skin changes,
or even like I mean the sun
like
that comes down in Super Mario 3, like just added enemies and stuff that maybe.
What was I thinking? I was thinking of something like that kind of relates to like how they just do these costumes and just chuck them out in Smash Bros. Like that they could just have a lineup of that, but and Splatoon guns and. I don't know. They're missing a lot of things in the game. I've noticed that it just seems like over the 9 days, if that's all the tools that we get, that they still have a lot open to eventually add some new things to the game. So
yeah, I was definitely disappointed that there weren't the slopes, because I mean, after playing your kind of mod level and stuff, the other day Zach made a mod level just with Super Mario 3D World, and we were able to kind of like try that out just in prep for Mario Maker, and that had slopes and stuff, and you start to realize how crucial slopes are for like sliding down and knocking out a big row of people, or shooting a shell up something that goes. I mean, there's just the slopes can do so much for like the physics of like where your items go, and it just the moment I realized that there's no slopes in Super Mario Maker, I'm like, that's kind of just unfortunate. Like you think it'd be pretty easy to
you just edit that and just move it up and stuff. It just came to me what I was thinking of about they could shovel out just like those cheap costumes, those little like firework things, like the claps and stuff. It seems like they could easily be like, here's a 10-pack of some new explosions and some new sound effects that you can just add.
Or even Christmas,
how easy is that?
Even Christmas time, like adding like snow effects or something.
Yeah,
or even,
definitely.
Even if your level doesn't necessarily, because I think that it could be kind of hard for them to add in like a ice theme or something, because that drastically changes the physics and stuff. Although I guess they do have it so just with a flip of the switch, you make everything underwater all of a sudden.
Right.
They could easily make everything be frozen all of a sudden too. But I could imagine that, like some sort of Christmas pack where you add in like Christmas trees or something, and then maybe like the Christmas music. I mean, even music packs and stuff. Like I'm pretty sure, from what I've gathered, you can change the soundtrack of levels, because I heard, I think in some demo, that they had like Super Mario Sunshine music, even though it was Donut Plains. So like they have that option. So maybe they'll add in more music and other things like that, to the point where I wouldn't be surprised like if they added other NES and SNES music, kind of like how you can play as Link if you have like the Legend of Zelda theme song behind there. So with how much they're crossing over their properties lately, it wouldn't be surprising if they do that. But speaking of DLC and that whole just bag of goodness, there's lots of Splatoon news coming out. Just a few weeks ago, I forget exactly when, they had a massive update with new maps, new modes, ranked battles, and all that in Splatoon. Splatoon has sold around about 85,000 units in the US during July, which isn't doing too hot on the heels of, I guess actually the DLC just came out, so I mean that wouldn't really influence July sales too much. We'll have to wait around and see how August does. Yeah. But I was going to ask, and this can lead into like the other bit of Splatoon news, but I was also going to ask, it seems like it's getting very close to the time, if not the time, where Splatoon is finally worth that initial price tag it had of $60. And right now, if you go to Kmart, I don't know exactly like what Kmart's doing in the U.S. or if it goes to other regions as well, but Kmart has Splatoon for about $30. We don't know how long that sale is lasting, so if you don't have Splatoon yet, I think I'm gonna go try to get that if I can this week.
Yeah.
Go get Splatoon for $30, because that definitely seems like a fun game. And as I was saying, seems like now is the time where it's kind of reached what it should have been. I think at launch. At launch, it did not have that many maps. I think it was like 4 maps or something, and no ranked battles to play with friends and stuff. No. That competitive nature is gone, and it just didn't have a lot of weapons, and they've added so many more weapons with the big updates, new costumes, and all of that. And so it seems like the game's finally getting to the point where it's worth buying. And I've only played it. I've played it twice. I played it during the Splat, the test fire is what it was called.
Yep.
Demo. Yeah, we both played that, and then I played it at Target just like a week ago, and was still. I actually used the motion controls when I played at Target, and was really starting to fall in love with those. And I wrote an editorial about it in May after I played the test fire, and described the game as just. It's one of those games that's just fun. Where it's like you kind of like look forward to, like, if you're at work or if you're at school or whatever, you're like, if you're just at some sort of meeting or whatever, it's one of those games that you kind of start to look forward to. Like, I want to get home and I want to play Splatoon. And a lot of games, there's a lot of games that don't necessarily have that kind of feeling anymore, where it's just like you just think about it during the day and like want to think about new strategies and stuff, which was a big shocker. And with all the stuff they're adding to it, definitely worth the value to go get it. But what were your thoughts? You think you had something to add, or?
Splatoon, I definitely want to get that sometime. I haven't been able to afford it, so unfortunately I haven't got it yet. But the test fire was a lot of fun. I love just how it seems like just you're playing, like, it feels like squirt guns as a kid or something. Like you're just playing like innocent on a little playground, kind of like just having a Splatfest kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. I had some like issues jumping onto it. Just a little bit of like aesthetics of the character design and stuff. It has been a little bit hard for me to totally jump into. Yeah, but I know that gameplay wise, I've like had a blast with it, and I love it, and I definitely think it's getting to where it's worth the price now, especially if it's $30.
If it's $30,
that's way like a great value. Like that's a steal.
Yeah, from what I hear, like the people that play, because like IGN has the fire team chat and stuff, and there's these people that go to town on Destiny and stuff, just really extensive first-person shooter raids and all that. They play Splatoon a lot, like Jose and Fran and Pierre, and they play that, and like they talk about like Destiny strategies, but then they'll also talk about like Splatoon strategies and be like, oh, you need the paint roller on that map, and I mean,
right.
But then you also play it, and like the music is so fun. Like they've been releasing a lot of like demo tracks lately, and like the music is so good
I heard
and catchy.
It,
I mean, not the advertisement music where it's like, right, you're a kid, you're a squid, like that's plain awful. But the actual in-game music is so incredibly catchy. But it kind of has that classic old school ambience where it's just you don't really pay attention to it, like it's not distracting, but you feel it like much more than other music in games where it's just I feel upbeat now and I don't know why. Oh, it's the music, but
I remember instantly in the test fire being like, man, I love this music.
Yeah,
like, this is awesome. And that was fun. I wish it was longer than just like what was it, an hour that we had to play.
Yeah,
man. But that was a lot of fun. I'm excited to get it again. But I just
the visuals are just so good. So I mean, voice crack. Yeah, definitely worth the time to get it with the update. And I'm surprised, honestly. It must have. I don't have the June numbers, but I thought June it sold pretty well. I know overall it sold decently well. I mean, for a Wii U game, because there's not as much hardware out there, it's harder for them to sell the software.
Yeah.
But I think Splatoon is one of their better games.
Yeah.
Selling wise, and so with 85 in July, I think it'll probably ramp back up with this DLC, and then I think that's going to be a big holiday hit. It's interesting that it was released during the summer. Like it seemed like that they should have almost waited with Splatoon and launched it with everything they have now in the holiday alongside like Super Mario Maker. Like it's weird that they kind of released the half-finished game in the summer,
Yeah.
But it definitely did have a summer vibe to it, where it was just the happy music, the water splats and the paint splats and stuff. Like
it has that squirt gun, like as a kid running out playing with your friends kind of vibe to it. I definitely think they kind of had almost an awkward marketing approach to it. Like I know that it seems like they advertised on Nickelodeon and stuff, maybe some Disney Network. I know they had a few like in Orlando. Kids like get-togethers sponsored by like Nickelodeon and stuff. But it seems
kind of like a Nickelodeon Slime Time sort of thing. Like it was iJustine was there. I know that. It
just didn't seem like, like other video games. You definitely feel the hype and know it's coming.
Yeah.
And it seems like Splatoon just kind of like just had that kind of Nintendo almost slightly awkward marketing approach where it's like not a lot of people knew it was coming unless you like really follow Nintendo, and then it was like just kind of here, and then they're like, hey kids, like check out Splatoon, like we're having a get together, and like what is Splatoon, and like came and checked it out, and like I mean I'm not saying it's been a failure, like I think they've done a decent job at getting it out and kids do recognize it, but I don't think it like they did a great job at building up, like I mean I don't know, maybe they did. It's hard to say because I know a lot of people at that E3 were like, man, Splatoon was like my favorite game that I played.
Yeah. It's one of those games that, sorry to interrupt, but it's one of those games where it's like, I remember last year E3, I'm waiting for Animal Crossing U, which we can talk about later, and I'm waiting for Galaxy 3 or Sunshine 2 or Pokemon Stadium U, like those big announcements, like the ones I really wanted, and they're like, here's Codename Steam and Splatoon, and like the two things I couldn't care less about, but then like everyone from the floor, like the show floor left saying like Splatoon is going to be that next big thing, and it's one of those games like we talk about like the visuals and the music and stuff, so it seems like a game that should show well, and yet the gameplay, unless you actually play it, I think it's much harder to show and at least get that joy from. Like it all culminates well when you actually play the game, and so
it's hard. It's not a very spectator game.
Yeah.
Like at the World Championships, it seemed kind of like that was kind of the almost sleeper game.
Yeah, I skipped right through that because I watched it after the fact, and I was like, I just want to get to I want to get to the Reggie fight, and I want to get to the Super Mario Maker.
Yeah, the Mario Maker was by far the greatest bit, and even like the blast ball was a little more like. Compared to Splatoon, like Splatoon is just, it's chaos and you have to be experiencing it yourself. You can't just really watch it because you can't even hardly get a grasp of what's going on. It's always so close and hectic and going back and forth. Like 1 minute you're on top, next minute, and it's just like, I don't know. You gotta be definitely, I mean, unless it's people that you are, like your friends you're rooting on maybe. But just, I don't know, at the World Championships...
Especially since it was team battles there. Like, I was rooting for Cosmo most of the tournament because I've seen a lot of his speed runs. And I was like, I want Cosmo to win, you know, mainly just because I recognized him. And so I'm rooting for Cosmo from the beginning. And it was weird, though, because I'm like, wait, what one is...
Trihex was there or something like that.
And I'm like, I'm watching, I'm like, wait, what one's Cosmo in the Splatoon chaos? And why the camera was never sticking on one person. And it's going back and forth. I'm like, wait, what color team is he on? And so, for watching one person and supporting one person, it was really hard because they did the whole team thing. But then, like, at that point, there was like really no team I was invested in, so it was just a weird way to start it off. But and then like we mentioned, like back last year at E3, it was just kind of hard to completely grasp. Wait, what is this, and why are you putting so much into it? But it's definitely come around. I mean, I think what was so weird was last year was when we first heard about Mario Maker. And it was just Mario Maker at that time, and it was pretty basic, didn't have nearly as much depth as it does now. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they added some of that depth in after the fact. Like, I don't think they knew exactly where they were going with it until this past year. And I think Splatoon was all, but was odd though, Splatoon from the very beginning they were trying to push. Like, they had the big banners for it, and everyone had little squid hats and stuff. And it's weird how in just 1 year both those games have come to completely different spots. And so, definitely, I'll be pre-ordering Super Mario Maker probably this week, and if I can go pick up Splatoon for $30, I'll probably do that too.
Yeah, me too. I think that might be finally the time that I go get Splatoon, because it's finally a more affordable price for me, even though I probably would have eventually shoveled out $60 for it.
Yeah, I would have eventually, but for $30, I'm going to get it now.
Right.
And definitely going to be a fun game to stream over at twitch.tv/Kaz Risk. Little plug there. Go watch me live. Going into the next topic here, Cliffy B criticizes Nintendo for firing Chris. Is it Pranger?
Chris Pranger?
Chris Pranger?
Chris Pranger.
Chris Pranger. Yes. Nintendo fires the employee that goes on a podcast. And the big thing about that is that Chris had gone on a podcast and talked about a lot of kind of internal details of Nintendo.
Yeah.
As we said, he's a Nintendo employee. He shared some things about Sakurai and just kind of how he's pouring so much into Smash Brothers DLC. He used the phrase he's killing himself over it, which a lot of people, I know there's like headlines in some places that it's like Nintendo employee says Sakurai is killing himself, and it's like, oh no, what?
Yeah.
And he also went on to say he expressed some other things. I thought just about like how things went in there. And Nintendo is such a very we don't share stuff about it. I mean, not only like we don't share our games, we don't share our work attitudes, our work ethic. I mean, like the fact that they've been doing the Nintendo Treehouse and stuff and showing off kind of how they act around the office and stuff has been moving light years ahead of where they used to be. Right. And Reggie kind of being much more of a personal guy, and even Bill Trennan going on like Nintendo voice chat and going to Evo and stuff. He never did go to Evo, but I mean, just him being involved in that community. They've come a long way, but even with Iwata's death, they were like, man, that's sad. We are mourning the death of Iwata. Back to work, and then they haven't talked about it even more. They haven't posted a tribute video on YouTube. They haven't addressed really much beyond that. I mean, any sort of thing we hear is basically from shareholder meetings where they're like, we're going to be picking our new CEO soon, but that's all we're going to talk about. I mean, they just don't talk about much of what's going on until it's time to officially announce it, or they just don't talk about it at all. So it's interesting, though, that Chris does this. I mean, you wonder if something else was going on. You wonder if one of the reasons he was being so open is because he knew he was about to be fired soon, or you wonder what's going on behind the scenes. But it's interesting that they would fire him for kind of sharing that information, and then very very obvious that they'd get criticized for that, because we live in a time where it's just that's what companies are supposed to be more open now. I mean, it's just everyone has Twitter now. Everyone has their own Periscope app where they can live stream from their office and stuff, and Nintendo and then I guess Konami are just the two people right now that you just wonder what's going on. Like Kojima and Konami, like this is a Nintendo podcast, so we won't get into that, but that still fascinates just the bejeebers out of me. Like I want to know what's going on with them, and I know Kind of Funny was talking about it, and Colin Moriarty was just like, whoa, this is going to be like one of those big stories that the history of gaming always looks back on. But I think Nintendo they're still like that company where it's just like you just don't know what they're doing. Yeah. And so any thoughts on that though?
Yeah, I didn't hear the podcast, so I'm not sure exactly all that was said. I've heard some comments that he did say a few. I mean, we were talking a little bit about how he was talking about localization.
Oh, yeah.
About how he was talking about why certain games don't be brought over here because, like, a financial, like...
Yeah, Xenoblade
was
the big one.
Take the fall for it. Like, they're realizing that they're not going to get a lot of money off of it, but they're doing it for the fans, things like that, and that they don't... Like, they're not passionate about bringing certain things over because they just know it's not going to do well. But it didn't seem like he said too many things that were, like...
Not negative.
Right. Yeah. He wasn't... I mean, it's definitely one of those, like, kind of super business reactions. Nintendo's always super business, even about, like, YouTube and shutting down so many, like, things over song copyrights and things like that. Yeah. Seems like they're just, like their legal team is almost a different entity than Nintendo itself, and that their legal entity is so strict about everything that he did say that he should have known it was. I mean, a lot of people also say, like, it's just obvious when you speak out, about a company without PR permission or like the legal speaking with legal first. It's just an inevitable consequence that, I mean, he should have known, should have been a little smarter about it. But I did think that Nintendo could have also been a little more compassionate and open about it and been just like giving him a warning. I don't know.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised also, like, with Sakurai. Like, Sakurai's probably not in the happiest place right now. He just lost one of his closest friends. He's probably really is just exhausted from Smash and probably doesn't have any end in sight for that because, I mean, they haven't even announced the Smash ballot yet. So whoever we're going to get in that. And so Sakurai's probably exhausted. I wouldn't be surprised if Sakurai goes online, reads this article by himself, and is like, I want that guy gone. And they're like, well, you're the head of Smash, Yeah. I could also see Sakurai being, like, very cool and stuff. I mean, I could see a lot of people being offended. I mean, one of the you mentioned the localization thing. That was another big thing. Was he talks so much about Xenoblade and how we're begging for Xenoblade Chronicles over here, and we want it, or Chronicles X, and we're like, why don't we have it yet? Why don't we have it yet? And he's like, one of the reasons for that is no one buys it over here, and you guys want this, and it costs so much money with such a big game to localize it, and then no one buys it. Why would we do that? It's kind of like, I think he was pretty blunt about it, and I mean, I could see Xenoblade high-ups or even Nintendo, like the fact that someone from Nintendo goes on a Nintendo podcast and says people don't buy our game, which is like one of their big holiday games, like they may be like, that's very bad PR, like shut up, and so combine that with kind of just a poor phrase to use about Sakurai. Just I think
right.
Just kind of a bad choice of words, and it makes sense for them to let him go with especially Nintendo. Mm-hmm. But it is kind of unfortunate that someone would lose their job.
It was a sad story to hear him. Like, he's got kids, and he was talking about how it's going to be disappointing for them. Their dad worked for Nintendo. Like, that's going to be so heartbreaking. But definitely poor judgment on his part. I definitely see the sadness, and I also understand the Nintendo's point of view. But I also think they could have been a little more cool about it.
Yeah.
And their statement about how we have no comment and we just wish Chris the best in his future endeavors just seemed a little bit cold, I thought. But I do understand also. So it's just a sad situation, probably for everybody involved. They didn't want to necessarily fire him, but just saw that that's really what they have to do. That's what they do. They're following their guidelines, and that's
just so someone else doesn't do it.
Right.
They offer grace to him than the next person. But kind of speaking about going back to Splatoon for a little bit, and then speaking of just kind of PR and someone that really knows how to just smooze people and really win them over, Phil Spencer is just rocking it with Xbox. And since he's kind of taken over leading that, he's been able to do a lot to really get people to love him, and through loving him, love Xbox. The Xbox really messed up in the beginning with just kind of their approach to their new console, and Phil Spencer's been able to really win people over, and he has such a strong Twitter presence. He's constantly saying the right things, responding to people in the right way, and promoting the other consoles. And one thing that you found, Zach, recently was that he really likes Splatoon, and so kind of to culminate the past two main points of Splatoon and there's the PR and just kind of going online and saying stuff. Phil Spencer said, on the Wii U, I think people downplay how many units they've sold. I've got a Wii U. I think there's some great games on there. I think Splatoon's a really nice game, and I don't think there's a first party out there that has the strength of IP that Nintendo has. They've always they're always a beacon to me when I look at what it means to build a first party portfolio of products. They've done a great job, which is kind of funny that he kind of diminished his own first parties then as an Xbox guy. I mean, you have Halo and all the other Xbox games, right. and he's kind of diminishing that, like, and praising Nintendo, which is kind of a cool PR thing because it gets people to love you, and it's like, oh, he's being so nice to Nintendo, but I think he also realizes, I can compliment the Wii U and Splatoon, and they'll still do the same because at that point it's not even a competition anymore. It's I kind of almost read him as more so it could be almost patronizing, where he's just like, yeah, it's a good little console and stuff. I mean, I'm the Xbox. I mean, I'm not worried about the Wii U at all, but I own one. I love it. But it is also cool that Nintendo's charm and stuff is just so thick and just prevalent that people, I mean, it can't help but admit, they're fun.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely. That was pretty cool. I think that it was it was a compliment to Nintendo and the Wii U when he says, I think people downplay how many units they've sold. I think that Nintendo has been slow and steady with the Wii U, and it's gradually built up. It's never probably going to reach those levels of PS4 and Xbox, but also those are going to die down too over time. So maybe I don't think that they had a total loss on the Wii U, but definitely it's nearing its time.
Yeah, I think the Xbox is going to shoot up. I think between
with this backwards compatibility for sure. That's when I sold my 360 and was like,
"Yep, you sold your 360?"
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Yeah, dang. Definitely they have the backwards compatibility. They announced a lot of cool things at their conference at E3. They completely owned Gamescom this past year, and I think a lot of people are eventually going to want both consoles, and it's kind of getting to that point where it's like, okay, I own a Wii U, but I want the Xbox, or I own a PS4, but now it's maybe this holiday season I can suspect a lot of people that already own a PS4 to hop over and also get their Xbox One now, because they've kind of had a couple years to do so. Although, if you're out there listening and you have a PS4, I would say get a Wii U if you're gonna have a double system thing going.
Right.
I want to get an Xbox One soon. I don't know if I'll be able to get one this holiday season, but Master Chief Collection, all that's definitely cool, and it's also cool when you hear about both Microsoft and I've heard a lot of Sony developers, like Naughty Dog, and I've heard a lot of because PlayStation has so many indies on the PlayStation Network, a lot of them are influenced by the classic NES days and SNES days, and it's always cool when people like to diminish Nintendo, as Phil Spencer is saying, like they downgrade them and stuff or downplay them, but their work is a shining beacon for everyone, and so that's really cool to see. But yeah, those were kind of the big news things of the day between Mario Maker and Splatoon and Chris and Phil there. But we're just going to go on to talk about some minor points and stuff that are kind of prevalent for us. I do want to talk about Happy Home Designer and the Animal Crossing, but real quick, kind of like we're all on the topic of Mario, we've already talked about how there's the 9-day wait for the Mario Maker tools, but you just finished up Mario 2, the USA version.
Yes, I finally did it.
You finally did it, Chapter. Yes. When did it come out? Like 95 or 90?
Well, the original one came out like in 86 or something like that, 87.
Super Mario Bros. 2 USA version?
Yes.
Oh,
wait, maybe it came out in 92.
I was going to say, I thought it would be in the 90s for sure.
Yeah, well, Doki Doki Panic, I'm not sure exactly when Doki Doki
Panic
it might have
been
in
the 80s, yeah.
But I did play the All-Stars version, which is like 94, 93 or something around that.
All-Stars is so good.
Yeah, and it was great. I loved because of the graphics improvement and everything.
I kind of wish there was an All-Stars option, just real quick, like, because doesn't All-Stars have like the Super Mario Bros. Where Mario has like just his blue overalls and stuff? Like,
right.
It's like the NES look, but it's more colorful. And like they even have that for Super Mario Bros. 3. Yeah. I wish that was an option in Super Mario Maker. Like, I do love that NES look, but I'm not a big fan of like the browns and stuff like all the time. Sometimes it's like a nice nostalgia, but other times wish it was more colorful. But go on with the Super Mario Brothers 2.
I thought it was amazing. I'd always heard that it was like a slightly shorter version or shorter game than like the other Marios, because they're all like 8 worlds and this was like 7 worlds. But for some reason, to me, it felt like it was just as long as a normal Mario game, if not longer, because of the challenges and the like non-linearity to it. And the challenge, like, just some of it was a little ridiculous, like enemy challenge where it's just so many enemies on the screen at once that you're avoiding. But I loved it. I thought it was a different Mario that I'd like never played before. I thought it was surprisingly more challenging than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be, when I'd heard it was shorter, I thought we would beat it in a day or a couple days, but it took me about a week to beat it. And super frustrating, but that love, like, I love frustrating Mario games where it's a challenge, and I would definitely like to see like some sort of sequel in the future where they do, like, I don't know, it seems like with that and Link's, or what was it, the Link's Quest or Link's Adventure, the Adventure of Link or something, Zelda 2. And I don't think they're ever going to do a sequel of those games, but it'd be cool to see a brand new, updated, with all new levels, Super Mario 2 USA kind of reboot and relive. I don't know how like challenging that'd be, just because it's Doki Doki Panic. It was a difference. I know Miyamoto was involved with it, but I'm just wondering, it's probably never going to happen, but it'd be really cool to
I was going to say, as far as I know, because those were when Shy Guys were introduced, because they were part of Doki Doki Panic. As far as I know, there hasn't been any Shy Guys in a main Mario game.
Yeah,
is what I've heard. That, I mean, and they're I mean, obviously Shy Guys are in everything else. I mean, they're in Captain Toad, they're in Smash and stuff. They're in like even like the Yoshi Island games. But as far as like a main Mario game, they haven't been in there. And so it's weird that they do kind of try to ignore some of that. What I was going to ask, though, to kind of relate it back to what we were talking about earlier with Mario Maker, is you just kind of finished that up. It was definitely a unique experience, and the physics of Super Mario Brothers 2 are definitely different, you know? I mean, everyone has their weird jumps, which is kind of cool. That's one of those things that, in Super Mario 3D World we were just talking about earlier, that's kind of, you're looking for that Super Mario Brothers 2 reincarnation almost in the modern-day games. That almost seems very similar, where they have the 4 different characters, or the 4 from Super Mario Bros. 2. Luigi has the jump and stuff, and the hop. I mean, it's almost like a 3D version of that. So I guess they bring it back a lot of that. But I was going to
it influenced a lot. Super Mario 2, definitely. Which
is so crazy to send this the USA version. But I was also going to ask. Oh, we're sorry about that. We had a brief technical hiccup there. The microphone and all the stuff cut out and all that. But we were talking about Super Mario Brothers 2, and I was going to ask my brother Zach here, who just finished it up, how he can maybe think that it correlates back to what we were talking about earlier with Super Mario Maker, and the possibility of there perhaps being DLC with that. We discussed the possibility of there maybe being some added enemies and stuff, maybe some new blocks and all that. And while Super Mario Brothers 2 has a very different physics system compared to every other Mario game that's available on Super Mario Maker, I was thinking maybe like an enemy like Birdo, for example, being added as a boss, or even the Shy Guys being brought back. And I forget, we had talked briefly before the audio hiccup about the possibility of adding keys or something like that. Super Mario World actually has the key system, but it's much more prevalent in Super Mario Brothers 2, where you have to take a key and the masks chase you down and stuff like that. And so, any ideas and thoughts on how maybe that could be added in? What could be included maybe if they did like a special Super Mario Brothers 2 Doki Doki Panic DLC pack, something like that.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time really seeing, just without we were talking about how, maybe Birdo would work with the Super Mario World mechanics of picking up, like maybe jumping ahead of the egg when it tosses to grab it, somehow like that.
Oh, yeah, because that was the big thing. I thought you were talking about the keys and stuff, like picking up the keys, and I was like, just pick it up like you would a turtle shell. But yeah, right. the Birdo fight is crucial to being above the egg.
Yeah, I'm almost like they'd have to change it to where fireballs would take him out or something, possibly, and you'd just be dodging his fireballs.
Or a similar, I mean, you can't pick up a hammer that a Hammer Brother throws, but you just jump on the Hammer Brother. Like maybe you just jump on Birdo and Birdo just kind of rolls off, I mean.
Yeah.
I think what was it in
3 times or something?
Yeah, because Lakitu in Super Mario Brothers, Lakitu wasn't even in Super Mario Brothers the original, but they brought Lakitu.
Was.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah.
But you couldn't jump on him and kill him, I believe.
I think you could, yes.
But I thought someone had mentioned that it was unique.
You can't get into his cloud, I believe, in the original.
Oh, yeah, because the big thing that someone pointed out was that they added, when they jump on Lakitu in the Super Mario Brothers thing, he like does a weird kind of barrel roll right out of there and stuff, and it's like that's why is that so weird? And it's because it was never in the NES version.
That they made it so you could jump in his actual thing.
Because they had the whole flying mechanic and stuff. Yeah. And so they've added mechanics like that in there before, where they added new death animations, and even the fact that chain chomps are back there. I mean, it all makes sense that they could have kind of adjusted it accordingly. Yeah. But then, I mean,
it just seems they like I was saying earlier about how they're never going to do a successor to Adventure of Link. Seems like they're just never really going to do anything with Super Mario 2 USA again. I thought it was kind of interesting when I was even playing All-Stars that the little intro screen has Birdo and the little carpet.
Birdo's huge. Birdo is double dash and all that. Was
right, but I also like the little whatever that, I don't know what it is. This little owl bird thing on a magic carpet from 2, and it's also up in the corner in All-Stars, and they have 2 major enemies from 2 USA, but then they just have Bowser, Mario, and it seemed like a lot of the attention was on 2 USA, and I thought that was kind of interesting if it was also released in Japan and it was released everywhere, that they had such a focus on 2 USA there. But that game was it was so much fun.
Do you think, because when we look at New Super Mario Bros. U and Super Mario Maker, how they have the jump mechanic, for example, in that, or even very crucially, they have the propeller kind of twist in the air jump, that extra. I mean, you almost get 4 jumps in the air in Super Mario Bros. U. So a very, very different physics change when you have wall jumping in that mechanic, and then but then in Super Mario World you have the cape, and then Super Mario Bros. 3 you have the Nuki tail. Do you think that possibly they may ever, even if they do a Super Mario Maker 2 or Super Mario Maker NX, do you think there'd be the possibility of adding the Super Mario Brothers 2 USA Doki Doki Panic template in there, where you could change that? I mean,
it's always a possibility.
Would that be too weird, do you think?
I do think that it's probably pretty far-fetched of an idea, that it's always a possibility, but it just seems like
picking up POW blocks and stuff.
It's just
if you
too
play
different.
If you play it in this
thing, it's too
thing,
unique and different, and it's been too neglected. I think that nobody, they kind of just, it's not like a Virtual Boy kind of game where like, you know, where they don't talk about the Virtual Boy really, and kind of act like it doesn't exist. I mean, they kind of throw like, you'll get one in Animal Crossing maybe or something like that. But it seems like it's got a little more, like they keep Birdo around. It's a little more positive.
They add in the culture of it, the Shy Guys and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, Shy Guys are a crucial part of Mario now. Yeah. And even that
the spiky the guys on the spike, what are those guys? From World also.
The Fuzzies?
Yeah, the cactus spiky guys.
Yeah, because those are huge
face.
in 3D World. Like,
yeah.
I think they're just called like Fuzzies or something. Or
yeah, they are in
Touch Fuzzy.
I think
dizzy.
they're from 2 originally.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely sad that I think that got so neglected. But it's
bombs.
also, it's always really but bombs are introduced from that too, and so
those little purple guys that jump, they've never been around again. I noticed. Like,
yeah.
What happened to those guys?
Or even like the whole concept of going into another world, like when you like drop the potion and stuff, you kind of switch over and.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I remember when I first started playing 2 USA, it was like. What was I originally playing it? I was playing it on a GameCube controller because I'm playing it on the Wii, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just like kind of like Y on the GameCube controller was the lift things, and A is such a big button on the GameCube controller that it was kind of awkward. Like I was having a frustrating time like picking up things and throwing things, and it's like this is a Mario game. I'm never like picking up things and like chucking them at. You know, the mechanics were just so different. And then I finally switched to the Wiimote, which was a lot better, which used like 1 as the lift and like 2, and it was easier to run and jump. And then I finally switched to the classic controller, which was like perfect for playing it. That is
I need to get
great
some classic controllers.
Yeah,
I want to do Let's Plays and all that of Super Mario, or not Super Mario Party. I'm so used to saying Super now, but just Mario Party 2 and all that, just the classic Virtual Console games.
Yeah.
But no, definitely cool. I want to go back and play that. I'm going to do, hopefully, a whole Let's Play series of Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 2 Japan, then USA, then 3, then World. And
you still need to beat Lost Levels. You never beat that one yet, right?
Yeah, I never beat
the
that.
last one of the ones you need to beat? Haven't you beat
I'm
them
pretty
all
sure, actually, I may have beat Lost Levels at some point.
Yeah.
But definitely don't remember, like, completely going through it. And so I want to do, like, a whole series of that. Maybe even hopefully record those within the next week or two and release them the week of Super Mario Maker leading up to Super Mario Maker is my goal and plan. But no, we're going to go through now to kind of wrap up the first episode of Koppai Podcast. I thought it would be kind of cool. We have some topics here that we weren't able to address. And instead of saving them for future weeks where there's just going to be more and more news, I thought it would be nice to address them now. One of which was Happy Home Designer has come out in Japan. I don't believe it's out in the USA right now, right? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But we've been able to see a lot of gameplay from it, and so far, whoa, it seems like a whole new Animal Crossing game.
Yeah.
It seems like I was very disappointed in that because I was like, I want Animal Crossing U, and instead we got Animal Crossing Party or whatever, Amiibo Party.
Yeah.
I wanted, I that's all I wanted. I didn't want any other thing of a 3DS Animal Crossing. I'm fine with New Leaf. I had to go check to see if Wolfgang's still living there.
Yeah, and Delhi, I think Delhi's still around too on mine.
I haven't checked Wolfgang though in forever. Wait. I did check him, I think, on the bus ride home like about a couple weeks ago when I came back from college. But anyway, I think I didn't want Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer, and I especially didn't want. I mean, if anything, I'd take a New Leaf too, where it's just a polished New Leaf and stuff.
Right,
but
a stripped down one where you only like go into people's house. It seemed a little strange at first.
And it seemed like it was really shoehorning the idea of like Amiibo cards in. Like they're like, this is the only way we could use it. But so far, what we've seen from the Japan version, and after I found out this information, I kind of haven't looked any more into it because I'm like, okay, I do want to buy this when it comes out. I do want to play it for myself. So I don't want to be spoiled anymore because it starts to get to that point where the experience is completely spoiled because you're looking at all this unique stuff you can do. But this game has like you can design your own school, and then people go in there and like go into the school and like hospitals and stuff, and it's much more than like a home designer. It's almost like you're designing the interior of like a whole kind of the downtown area that never was in your Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Like while Animal Crossing New Leaf is kind of the village side of things, this is more of like the town side of things. And really interesting. I mean, like from what I've seen of like even the initial trailer like that they showed, it seems like this is much easier to design. Like you can like move the couch over and just set it down wherever, and then like overlays and stuff, and they'll be like, oh, that's gonna collide, but it doesn't freak out or do like a sad noise and stuff.
They really improved all of the mechanics, and then like I didn't realize that you couldn't even hang things on the ceiling in New Leaf, and it's got a new transparency effect that goes over it that allows you to hang things on the ceiling and all kinds of things.
And they even have things like, from what I heard, like, and if you have someone like, for example, Wolfgang was kind of more of he's kind of like a rock star-y sort of tough guy vibe. Or I know there was Kurt that was in my town. He's a little bear that loves to box, or Goose was a chicken that loved to box.
Yeah.
And it's like, say for example you get a house like them, like say Kurt like wants you to design a house, he would have specific requests like, I want a punching bag. And so you'd have like a big list of furniture you could use to kind of make it your own and really enjoy the game and make it your personal, like, happy home design. But if you didn't have the punching bag, you'd lose points because he's like, you need to find somewhere to put that. So there's kind of like a fun challenge to it almost.
Yeah.
But also the personal and stuff. Well, and so, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that it's kind of cool how like New Leaf is kind of, and most Animal Crossing games are kind of a sandbox of like leisure, you know, where you just kind of go do your own thing, your chores. And it seems kind of cool that Happy Home Designer seems almost more of a game, where you go in and it's like you gotta focus on this is what you're doing. I mean, I guess in other Animal Crossings, your chores, your daily chores, you kind of get focused on. But it seems this has more of a like level completion kind of style to it.
Yeah, someone that's very task oriented can go in and like you were saying, New Leaf does have those tasks, but it can become very easy to get distracted, or even kind of go in and just do those tasks.
Sometimes like there's not too much to do. Like, why am I motivated to do these chores? Why am I motivated after I've got all of my upgrades to continue? Why, like, I'm just kind of doing the same thing. It seems like this kind of has that starting you out on a level, moving you up another level, moving you to more advanced things, and more of like an actual game progression instead of, which it seems like both of them have their space, you know, of their time and place, but like that definitely it seems a different take on the Animal Crossing franchise that I'm excited
it's refreshing.
to try it out. Yeah, it's refreshing.
One thing I was gonna say though with that is, as much as I do love all that, I'm still gonna play New Leaf, and it's really inconvenient for me that it's two separate games.
Yeah.
Like I almost would have, like, I wish it would have been almost like DLC, or hopefully it's setting up the standard or paving the road for Animal Crossing NX, which better come out when the NX, it should be a launch title for the NX, and it should be a combination of what we saw in New Leaf, which was just like the best Animal Crossing yet, and whatever is in Happy Home Designer, where you can do the leisurely stuff, but then you can go into someone else's house and be like, hey Wolfgang, like, your house sucks, what do you want? He's like, I want an electric guitar over there, and then I want the rest to be blue and red, make it happen. And like, because then you have that whole task thing and stuff. And then once again, like, go to the downtown area and then just use your amiibo cards to maybe just fill up like a whole like apartment complex and stuff, and kind of have that Tamagotchi life thing. They hopefully, like, maybe it's just because the 3DS wasn't able to handle like having both games in one, but hopefully like the NX can have whatever's in New Leaf and Happy Home Designer, because I think especially like that house designed.
Animal Crossing Party, whatever.
That would be cool. I wouldn't mind if that was missing and stuff.
Right.
But I mean, I don't need that as much as I need. But like, it's such a pain designing my house in Animal Crossing. Like, I mean, and now since I'm so invested in it, and there's like such a big theme, like for me to like redesign my house in Animal Crossing New Leaf would be such a daunting task. And so I just kind of leave it the way it is. But like with Happy Home Designer, it's like, let's go. But speaking of other things that we kind of are anticipating coming for the Wii U, or stuff that we wanted to, that maybe we'd like to have coming to the NX, just to kind of wrap up looking into the future. There's a couple things we're going to talk about maybe in the future podcasts. Eventually we do want to talk about kind of Game Freak and what's going on with the Pokemon games and all of that. We can kind of talk about that briefly, of how we want that on the NX and stuff. But I believe the next big thing is we're kind of waiting on Star Fox and Zelda are the two big things that are coming up, and we can talk about these more in some future episodes as they get closer. But just to kind of close out, I mean, is that like something you and I can talk about to close out, or you want to save that for another week? Real quick, I do want to touch on, since this is still kind of prevalent, I wrote a blog in the past week, got published by IGN. You can go to IGN.com/blogs/Kaz Risk, and you can find it there. What if Zelda was a girl? Quick disclaimer here. I know Zelda is a girl. That was the joke. There's a shirt, there's a meme, there's a whole thing. What if Zelda's a girl?
Yeah.
Because people always mistake Link for Zelda, and that was the joke.
Yeah.
When IGN published it, they put it on the main page as what if Link was a girl, because you can't have IGN making the same joke on the front page.
Because they did that, I didn't even realize that they changed it.
They changed it, and so people would comment and be like, wait, IGN got it right, but this idiot editor got it wrong. And I'm like, guys, it's a joke. And in the very first paragraph, I call out, so a message to everyone that read just anything. Read the actual content before you comment. Don't just read the blog title and stuff. But to kind of touch on that thought, and even going forward, like as we're talking about Zelda U, which is Zelda NX, the reason I brought that whole blog up wasn't necessarily for the political correctness of it or pushing some sort of feminism agenda. Actually, the only reason I went with the title, like the whole topic of gender, was to fit along with that joke of what if Zelda was a girl. But even in the writing, the whole topic was mainly about the customization of Link and kind of turning him more so into an avatar sort of character, like the Dragonborn of Skyrim or Robin in Fire Emblem, or the lone survivor of Fallout.
Right.
A lot of people, and you included, Zach, I think you were kind of in that group that was like, no, Link is Link, and he's a very established character, especially like the kind of Smash Bros. Thing solidifies that. But I mean, my argument goes back to, well, Robin's also in Smash Bros. As Robin, but when I played Fire Emblem, I was Kaz. And when I play The Legend of Zelda, I'm always Kaz'd in, and I change my name and I kind of take on the persona of Link, and he becomes my link into Hyrule or Termina or the Skyloft, wherever the case may be. Do you think that The Legend of Zelda going forward, maybe not necessarily with Zelda NX, although it looks like it could be, Zelda NX is taking on much of the characteristics of popular RPGs with the idea of side quests and open world, and it seems like the world's kind of like, do whatever you want here, it's much so a playground stuff. Do you think that you could see yourself enjoying, and do you think Nintendo would even take the step to make Link almost become that role-playing avatar figure in response to that blog and stuff, and to kind of clarify some things for people that may have read that?
Yeah, I can definitely... one thing that comes to my mind when thinking about that is almost how it seems that now when they take so many elements from, like you say, the open world and the side quests, and like how they've always had like day and night cycles, but they just... I'm thinking Link is kind of one of the things that sets him up, like makes him part. Like if you make him the option to be girl, to be female or male, then I'm wondering if
sword wielder,
he kind of takes away from like the Zelda, like, and makes it more of just an open world RPG, kind of a new thing. I mean, I'm thinking you can still keep the elements. I mean, I can definitely see them still making it a very Zelda game where you still have that option. So I'm open for it, and if they did do that, I would be totally fine with it. Yeah. I'm kind of a little bit conservative to the whole, like, I think that, I mean, it's not like you said, a feminist thing or any sexism thing. I'm not against definitely female characters in video games, but I just do think that, like, kind of like Mario, Link has become established as a character that's kind of historical in a way. Yeah. That it's like, it's like suddenly making the option of being male or female Mario. And I mean, I would, if they did do that, it's such an insignificant thing, like gameplay wise, really, that it'd still be Mario. I mean, that I'm not gonna be like petitioning against it or anything, but I just think it's kind of interesting. I do think that he's such a definitive character that when you see Link and you're in the game and you have the cap and you're Link, it just feels Zelda, even if you change the name. And I guess we've always had that convenience of being male and playing it, and if we change our name,
that was the big thing I thought, because
it's hard to...
What really got me thinking about too is a game like Horizon coming out, which I'm pumped for. Horizon, that PlayStation exclusive, with like the girl fighting like all the robot dinosaur things. And I've always been the person like that. When I play Skyrim or Fallout, or when I played World of Warcraft, I always played as a guy. And like that kind of helps with my immersion, because I put myself in that role. And I was kind of bummed out that Horizon seemed like it was setting itself up to be such a role-playing game, and I had to play as a girl. And I don't mind playing as a girl. I love playing Metroid. I love playing... I don't know, there's other games I've played as a girl. I was going to talk about one, but that kind of has a spoiler that you play as a girl and stuff. But it doesn't take my immersion out when I'm watching, like when I'm playing as someone that I know is not me. But like with a role like Link, where I put myself in it, or with a Dragonborn or the Lone Survivor, or Robin, for example, like at that point, it's like I'm invested so much, and at this point, it's like I want to just be completely me, you know.
Right.
In the same way that like I don't usually, like if I play Fallout, for example, I normally don't do some sort of maniacal murdering or like sniper guy. Like I usually go with like a lot of points in the charisma thing, because I'm a smooth talker and I like to do the intelligence and stuff, and I like to play the game going off that as if that's like what I would actually do. And so that was my argument with it. Is like I know a lot of girl gamers. I know a lot of girl gamers for the longest time have played as guys, and they've been just fine with it, and they'll continue to play as guys, and I'll continue to play as girl characters. But it seemed like the opportunity was being opened up for Link to be maybe take that plunge and fill that role as kind of a customizable character, much more so than like Mario could make the transition, because Mario, it's important that he pursues Peach in a romantic relationship. That's been such an established thing. It's been so much established that he's like the brother to Luigi and stuff, while Link has kind of been more important of being the kid without a fairy instead of the boy without a fairy. You know, like he didn't have too much identity in his gender. Even with his relationship with Zelda, very rarely have they ever had a hint of romantic involvement. It's usually Skyward Sword has a little bit at the start of it, and I think The Legend of Zelda 2 has a little bit of kind of like that Sleeping Beauty sort of vibe to it, where it's like you have to like you have to go save her and stuff, and it's very much like the knight saving the princess and stuff. But a lot of other times, like I mentioned in my blog, Majora's Mask, Zelda's not even in it, you know, like it's about the hero saving the town from the moon falling, you know. And so it didn't seem like someone made the argument like, well, why not make Mario a girl, and why not make this person a girl, and Nathan Drake a girl, and Lara Croft a boy? I'm like, because Lara Croft is Lara Croft, and Nathan Drake's Nathan Drake. And I guess you could say Link is Link, but much less so, I think.
Yeah, I see your point there. Yeah,
and
totally.
And someone other also did say, though, it's kind of like the James Bond thing. Like, James Bond is always going to be a guy, though, even though he's always a different James Bond. Link's always going to be the guy, even though he's a different Link. And,
yeah, I see that.
I think it's a little different, but there's lots of perspectives to it and stuff. Yeah. But I think it's definitely cool to see, as we talked about even earlier with the whole PR thing with Chris, Nintendo's definitely taking some different steps with Iwata's passing, and the whole mobile market and the Universal Studios thing. They're definitely taking a lot of different directions, and so Koppai Podcast is going to have a lot to talk about going forward.
Yeah.
And I like to kind of wrap it up here with this Zelda talk and the Zelda NX, Wii U, whatever that's going to end up being, to kind of open the door to future discussion, because we're going to come back. Again, we may do another episode this week. We may wait a week. We don't know exactly how our schedule is going to go as far as posting these. But in the future, we definitely want to address Game Freak and Pokemon and their relationship with Nintendo. There's some things there that may be implying some trouble in Paradise.
Talk a little bit about the Star Fox graphics. It looks like a GameCube game.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the next podcast, because there's still plenty of time for it before Star Fox comes out, so we can talk about that before it does. But there's stuff to talk about there, and then Pokemon Stadium, kind of in the topic of Game Freak, and the whole thing, and then just continuous DLC talk for Mario Kart, Super Mario Maker, Super Smash Brothers, and then Splatoon. There's some theories that we have for what maybe could come out with Mario Kart. How far will the Smash DLC go? And so there's going to be plenty of material going forward. I think it's going to be great. Universal Studio stuff to talk to, mobile games coming out. It's going to be a full year for Nintendo, and then with NX coming out next year, Koppai will just be able to talk about stuff forever. And so thank you so much for listening to the first podcast, first Koppai podcast. Sorry about that little hiccup in the middle. We have to go back and edit that and stuff, so I don't know exactly if it'll be a smooth transition or a rough transition, but regardless, thank you for dealing with that. We're going to continue to refine this, continue to just perfect it, so be sure to leave comments in the comment section below, whether you're watching this on YouTube or maybe you're viewing it on the Kaz Risk blog on IGN.com. Wherever you're viewing it, maybe iTunes, I don't know if we're going to be able to post it there and stuff, or SoundCloud, but leave little notes and comments, or tweet at us at Kaz Risk or at Zak Risk, KazriskZakRisk, and leave your thoughts and impressions, and be sure to let us know what you didn't like so we can improve that, but also let us know what you did like so we know what to keep doing with just added refinement and stuff. And so, any closing thoughts you want to add, or just...
Nope, sounds good.
Sounds good.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Have they told you who I am?
Something get bad.
Oh, that's good.